Hi. How are you guys going? Look at these gorgeous roses. My husband got me these a few days ago when I had a massive headache, and they actually smell like roses, which is amazing because they usually don't. But anyway, hello from me, hello from my flowers. Want to talk to you today about being really careful with understanding where your stuff ends and when somebody else's stuff begins. So be careful about where in your life might you be taking responsibility for someone else's choices because they refuse to. And naturally, you just always take responsibility for people or things without realizing it. So it's important for us to know what is ours and what is theirs. And it's kind of like, I'll give you an example. So we moved to Brighton, and literally the week before we moved to Brighton, we had a WhatsApp group with our neighbours, and I already knew that we were going to have scaffolding be put up at some point in September. I didn't know when, so I just messaged the person organising it and saying, "Hey, just letting you know we're moving on this date," and they said to me, "Oh, well, the scaffolders are coming on Monday, and so you'll need to negotiate with them how that's going to go." And I had been very clear with them, because if they had put the scaffolding outside our home, we would not be able to move out. It would block one of the main entrances and block an outside room that we had where we would store things. So it's non-negotiable. And I immediately wanted to say to him, "Mate, it's non-negotiable. There's nothing to negotiate. I'm not going to get up at 7 a.m. on Monday morning to go and talk to builders who actually, that's your job. It's not mine, that's your job." The old me would have taken total and utter responsibility for it. I would have felt like even maybe it was my fault that I was moving. I chose to move at this time. But the neighbours had given us absolutely no notice. They hadn't said, "Hey, is this okay with everybody?" Nothing. And I kind of thought, okay, I could speak to you, but your human vessel is quite entitled. So you're going to get messages coming in, but you're going to convolute them in some way, shape or form. And that's okay, right? My human vessel can get convoluted in other ways, right? So I knew that if I was going to speak to them, I wasn't going to get the right response. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to close my eyes, and I just gave it back to them. I went, literally with my hands, I went, no, that's yours. Also, that's yours. That's yours to deal with. There you go, you have it. You do your 50%. And I left it at that. And then a few hours later, I got a message from him, and he said, "Marina, I have renegotiated the day. They're going to begin the day after you move out." And I was like, "Thank you very much. Fantastic." So that's something that we actually can do. The first stage is to go, wait a minute, is this mine to deal with? Or actually, is this yours? Particularly if you grew up in a household, or you had caregivers, or it was coming from your school, or it was coming from maybe in your early 20s, you were in a high pressure job, it was coming from your boss. If you have been around people who, instead of them working through their emotional stuff and then apologizing when they need to, or saying thank you when they need to, or hey, are you okay, asking you questions, instead of doing those three things, instead they project their feelings onto you because they're not willing to deal with them. So they project them onto you. And so it's like, well, you did this. They're going to say you did this. They're going to blame shift maybe. Or maybe they're going to not say anything at all, but it's implied blame, right? Because you had boundaries, I'm going to take this action, and it's going to be as if you've done something wrong for having boundaries, but actually you're allowed to have boundaries, and what I need to do is have some self-exploration to figure things out. So I was thinking about it this week, and I was thinking, my boundaries have been really good because it's what I teach, and I teach it because I've been it's been so hard for me to create boundaries in my life, because predominantly I don't want to hurt anybody, and so I've always taken the hit because I can, right? And I've always said to my clients, just because you can take the hit doesn't mean you can. Doesn't mean that you should do more than 50% of the work in any interaction, in any relationship. I'm not talking about, when you have a crisis happen and it's all about the other person. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about in general. So it's important for us to remember that's yours. So what can you look at in your life? What are you kind of going, wait, did I just take that on? So I'll give you another example. So I've called a boundary, a very clear-cut boundary with somebody very beautiful who, instead of acknowledging that boundary, has gone and taken a couple of actions. And the old me would have gone, oh, wow, I must be a bad person for them to have done that. I've taken it on, right? I've taken it in, I've taken it on. And the healed me goes, wow, they've chosen to hurt me again. Because that's their stuff. That's not my stuff to deal with. So the old me would go, wow, because of your dysfunctional reaction or your dysfunctional response, I must be to blame. Rather than going, because of your dysfunctional response, that is just your work to deal with. That's not my work to deal with. That's your work to deal with. Whereas I would take on everybody's responses as my fault. And actually, when I look back, I really did. And I did it because growing up, the beautiful people around me didn't know how to take responsibility for how they were feeling. And who would they put it on? The one person that was like a little sponge that they could just give it to. And the little sponge would go, thank you, I'll take it in, I'll transmute it and put it back out again. And you won't even know that I'm transmuting it, right? You won't even know that I'm doing it. All you know is that I just retain happy. I'm like a happy, happy, happy person. And so now I'm like, well, I don't need to do the work for you in order to make myself feel comfortable. Can I be comfortable with you putting a lid on our relationship? Or can I be comfortable with your discomfort? And really it's like saying, you do you, that's yours, and this is mine. So I've done this before with other people where I've gone, no, that's yours. And it's happened like once or twice where they've come back to me and they've gone, sorry about that. I didn't realize what I was doing. It's like energetically, no, that's yours. I'm gonna move the roses, I keep hitting them. Sorry. What else I wanna say about this? And I've done this before, but not a lot. And every time I've done it, it's absolutely worked. So where are you carrying any tension in your body? And ask yourself, body, is this yours? You can put your hand on your chest or your hand on your belly. I love doing this one. I go, body, is this yours? So if you feel tired after an interaction, you just feel weird, you don't feel like yourself, body, is this yours? And you go, wait, no, your body will tell you. It'll be like, nope, give it back. You can give it back with love, you can give it back with God's energy. If you want to, you can give it up to the creator to transmute. You don't have to give it back to the person, doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you're free. You realize you no longer have to take on any of this. You actually don't. If it's that person's work to do, don't deny them their own growth. You don't need to do it for them anymore. You really, really don't. I used to see it as a form of love. I used to kind of feel guilty and bad, and I would help and I would do all this stuff. But now it's like, actually, I'm denying you your own growth. And if that's where the relationship remains, then so be it. Anyway, love to you. Have a gorgeous week. Remember who you are. Keep rising. Where needed, shut off from the earthly happenings and let yourself rise. Go back into the earth, do what you do, shut off again. Keep bringing these beautiful energies that are coming in from the planet into our bodies and keep feeling light. Bottom line is, if you don't feel light and you don't feel awake and alive, you have probably absorbed somebody's energy that isn't yours. Give it back.